You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me.
Yes, everybody, welcome back to Unseal, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. Like right there on the shirt. Little eagle. Love that guy. And I love you. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Please do share this. Thanks, Bri, for sharing it already. You're the man. Please feel free to make a comment, a suggestion, ask questions, and what have you. After I'm done with my little ditty for the day, we'll always dedicate some time for that. But please do tell someone about this. We are endeavoring to do the best podcasting we can, whether it's audio or video. And my name is Christopher Mantine. I'm hopefully going to educate you a little bit here today because I'm learning myself. Just trying to find out what's true. Right? Amen. And as a Christian, we should know that ultimately Jesus is the truth. The truth is a man, and that's good enough. But there are things in the world that will be happening, and if we don't know what they are, then we're going to be tricked, deceived, and or knocked for a loop. Maybe our faith is going to suffer, and we're going to fall away. And so that's a big deal to me, and that's why I think these things are worth talking about. First of all, before we begin, I want to point out that we are building up our Patreon. Right now, just go to patreon.com/Wings of the Eagle. You can join the aviary, which we talked about last week. I think it was last week. Where you can get into a private community, a group that can talk about all things UAP, UFO, etc. related in a private context, maybe even whistleblowers or people who work for the government or religious or scientific minds, whatever, can go in there, and you don't have to agree on stuff. You just have to want the truth and to talk about it in a private or secure fashion. So anyway, that's what that's about. So please tell someone about it. If you would, share this right now with all your networks. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is, tell me if you even know what it means when you see the term Admiral Wilson Memo or Thomas Wilson Memo. Well, that's not right. It's Davis. Thomas Wilson is that. I got to change that. Thomas Wilson is the name of the admiral. Eric Davis is the writer of said memo. Anyways, I got to fix that. It shows how much I'm on top of it today. Scrambling around. Okay, so please do comment and tell me where you're from, and if you've never watched before or what have you, I'd love to know who you are, where you are, and what comments that you have. Okay, so let's correct this. The Wilson Davis memo and directed energy weapons. Directed energy weapons is a classification of things that sometimes you'd call laser. That's one type. You can also use sound waves or other type of energy as a weapon. If you might have heard of the thing called Havana syndrome, this is looking very much like it is a directed energy weapon that is aimed at your head. Targeting, because of your job, etc. So that's a thing. And certainly the more traditional energy of kinetic, exploding, making things blow up, is a laser function, and it has been used and tested by several nations, whether they tell you about it or not. And so how are these things related? All right. First of all, let's share the Wilson Davis memo. I can't believe I messed that up. Thomas Wilson. Ugh, what a joke. Probably going to get no views on this because of that stupid title. Anyways, let's take a look. All right, here is, sorry for the audio, folks. Let me try to make that a little bigger. Okay, there we are. EWD notes, Eric W. Davis. Is a scientist, is a very smart individual, and he had a meeting with Admiral Thomas Wilson. As you can see, there is the date, which is October 16th, 2002. Eric Davis meeting with Admiral Wilson. You can go find this yourself. This is on documentcloud.org, but it's in several places. This is, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but this is describing a meeting, and here's the answer. Or the, before they met. Admiral Wilson was involved with and eventually became the leader of the DIA. And at this time, he was the leader. And what's the DIA, you ask? Well, let me show you. Well, you should. The DIA is the part of the Pentagon that has its own intelligence apparatus service. And was the arm in which a program called OSAP was undertaken in the 90s. $20-some million poured into it. It's a real thing, and part of its mission was UFOs and the threats that they pose. Here is, that's real. Here is Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson, United States Navy. This is from the page of the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency. He is one of the previous directors, and you see his service dates there as the director. Summer 1999 to July 2002. And et cetera, et cetera. All right, so anyway, this is the guy. He's a real person. He was really in the right place to meet Mr. Davis. And Hal Puthoff, and an astronaut. Anyway, you can read all about this. Edgar Mitchell, the not just any astronaut, legend. Anyway, they all talked to Mr. Wilson because there were things being hidden, which Mr. Davis and his associates were very curious to know about because it overlapped or would have greatly helped their work. And so Admiral Wilson at first was like, I would know about it if there's programs called special access programs, or SCI, which is the intelligence version, basically. All right. So bottom line is, you go read the memo. It's blow your mind if you never read it before, as far as what was talked about. Thomas Wilson, 1997, they had a meeting with Edgar Mitchell. This is Thomas Wilson and Edgar Mitchell, obviously the astronaut. So they had a relationship. Pentagon Records Group. Basically, he was asked to go find out what happened. I'm trying to give you a direct quote so I don't put my own spin on this too much. Anyway, let me just bottom line it for you. Admiral Wilson went looking. He found he was given hints about where these things might be hidden. He had a relationship with obviously the Secretary of Defense. And at this time, when he began his time of running the DIA, it was still in the Clinton administration. And when he had this initial meeting with Edgar Mitchell, Defense Secretary was, oh my gosh, William. Oh my gosh, just slipped my mind. Anyways, point is, if you read up about SAPs, we did a show about this before, about special access programs and what they are and how they're separated into different segments so they can't know about each other, this and that. So Admiral Wilson's running the DIA. He's one of the higher ups in the Pentagon. He told William. Oh my gosh. Anyway, the defense secretary says, yeah, I actually, might be able to help you where these things might be because there's a special records collection. It's called a special access records collection, blah, blah, blah. And he found, apparently, 4 programs or 4 special access programs, or SCI, which is the intelligence version, secure compartmentalized information, blah, blah, blah. There were 4 of them. 3 of them hung up on him. Say, hey, what do you guys do? What is this program about? I'm ahead of the, one of the bigwigs at the Pentagon. I'd like to know what you guys are doing. Nope. He was treated rudely, apparently, told to get out. I don't care who you are. If you're not on our special list of people who have the right to know, or the need to know, excuse me, you don't get to know, no matter who you are or what position you have or whose boss you are. He was told 3 different times. But a 4th one actually gave him the time of day, even though they wouldn't tell him right off the bat. He had to get angry a couple times and push and push and push. And he was told finally that yes, we're actually a program that has been from an unknown source. We have material, we have a craft, and some type of, we can't get it to work. We believe it can fly. Well, we're trying to reverse engineer it. And Wilson's like, what do you mean? From like Russia or China? That's the obvious question. Because that's normal. Right? If some kind of new technology, we get our hands on it. So I don't know, some kind of aircraft or weapon or something, we somehow or another recover it from the Russians or the Chinese. They had an accident or whatever. Hey, let's go grab that and see if we can figure it out. It happens all the time. But they're like, no, it's not Chinese or Russian or any other nations. That's all we know. It's a craft. We think it can fly. We're not having any success reverse engineering it. We're not having any success at all, really, for a long, long time now. But that's what we do. So we don't know how we obtained it. We don't know the team or the group that did it. We just were told, here it is. Work on it, reverse engineer it, see how it works. Can we make one? Stuff like that. But all they were told basically is that it's not from any nation in the world. What are you gonna do with that? And yes, we're trying to reverse engineer it, and that's about as far as he got. Apparently, if I'm remembering right, I'm trying to remember all my history here the past year or so, reading up, absorbing as much history on this as I can. I believe he tried to visit the location of this program. They're all in, apparently, all of these four are, for secrecy's sake, in private contractor locations. In other words, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, big aerospace, the big giant aerospace companies that make airplanes and weapon, missiles and stuff like that. So they're actually in those private companies. They're contracted with the government for these programs. So that's where the stuff would be. And so he showed up at this particular one that would actually talk to him a little bit. But when he got there, and it's funny how when you read this account, it's the lawyers. That's what it's all about. The lawyers will give yes or no, up and down, on whether they can access certain, whether this new guy who's not part of it, what he can know. That's where we're at. Even though it's military stuff, even though it's crazy craft and science and all this stuff, yet the lawyers have the final say. So they apparently begrudgingly let him into the building. But they just met with him in some room with nothing there. It was a room, and they told him basically to pound sand at that point. Like he wanted to go in to this, behind the curtains, as it were, and he was told no. You're lucky we let you come here, basically. And this is one of the higher ups in the Pentagon. So this memo that Eric Davis, who was a scientist who worked on the OSAP program, who facilitated this meeting and took notes, it came out. It was, I remember I mentioned Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut. He died not long after this, and from his private papers, he kept a copy of this memo from Dr. Davis, and so it was leaked from there. Someone got it, and I can't remember who. I think we know who. And it came out that way. So Eric Davis to this day will not admit it, but he won't say anything about it. He'll say, I didn't do it. It's not, I didn't release it. Basically, yes, it happened, but that's all I'm going to say, like the meeting happened. So he's trying to, because he still works with clearances and NDAs and all that stuff. So he doesn't want to jeopardize all that. But it's real. That's the point. And the several folks have done very, very good, deep work, journalistic work, to double check, triple check, get witnesses, get second and third sources and stuff. And this thing is real. I mean, it's definitely true that it happened. And what Admiral Wilson told Eric Davis about these programs and about how 3 of them shut him out, but he got to some degree of detail with the 4th. Now, and by the way, this information is confirmed in another way, but from a long time ago, in another source. from 2018. This website is no longer online, but a scientist, Dr. Hayesh is his name. He worked for, I believe, Lockheed Martin. And after the 2017 New York Times story came out about this ATIP, the secret program and the government, right? That whole thing, you know what I'm talking about there. So Dr. Hayesh went on his own journey to find out what the heck's going on, because he worked in, one of these contractors. Sources tell me this is merely the tip of the iceberg. A group of 4 related but separate, unacknowledged SCI programs. Those are SCI meaning intelligence classifications versus military SAP, but it's the same idea. There are 4 related but separate, unacknowledged SCI programs. If you are confused about what it means by unacknowledged and stuff like that, again, go back to the episode we did the end of last year sometime about SCIFs and SAPs and what an SAP is and how they work, and there's diagrams and all that stuff to show you visually how these programs operate and why no one can find out anything about them. And this particular one, unacknowledged, is the worst because it's immoral. Number 1, it's illegal. Number 2, if you really look at it, unacknowledged means you can't admit they exist, even if you work on it, even if you're in it, you're read into it, you're on it. This is your job. Yes, it's secret. Okay, you can't tell the world. You certainly can't, blab it around or whatever. But even if your superiors come to you, if they're not part of the program, you can't just say, no, I can't tell you about it. You have to deny it exists. Unacknowledged. There's no records. Right? That's unacknowledged. Okay. So there are 4 separate but related, unacknowledged SCI programs tracing back to, are you ready for this? 1947, under a Truman Memorandum still in effect, and were housed as of the 1990s. So this is now 50 plus years old, these 4 programs, housed as of the 1990s in a major aerospace company such as Lockheed, TRW, Raytheon Aerospace Corp., etc. These would be expensive programs since the cost of the secrecy can be several times higher than the research. The black programs collectively have budget in the $10 billion range and up. Topics apparently include, of these 4 programs, reverse engineering and extraterrestrial biology. The ATIP program, the one that was admitted to in 2017, did find the UFO crash retrieval program via official channels, but was denied access to it because ATIP itself is not a SAP, Special Access Program. Senator Harry Reid petitioned the Department of Defense to confer SAP status to ATIP, but DOD denied it. Okay, if you had, I apologize for all the acronyms. But again, we have more than one way of seeing the fact that crash retrievals, in other words, something that we don't know what they are from no country that we know of, are being, either they're being shot down, brought down, crashing, whatever, donated, however you want to look at it. There is absolutely 100% for a fact that's true. It's a program that exists in, at least in the United States government, because that's what we're talking about with these data points here. Okay, it does exist. I understand, in at least China and Russia as well. Perhaps other countries, but definitely China and Russia. because they have nuclear programs for a long time. And apparently this is what a country will use to protect letting these crash retrieval programs out. All right. Now, this thing about the extraterrestrial biology, I'll leave up to you for now to sort that out. And we can talk more about that on another episode. I do have thoughts on that as well. And it doesn't mean that phrase is actually true. Could be non-human life biology. So there are non-human life forms that they're working on as well. Okay. What's the one other point about this? And then I'll talk about the directed energy weapon tie-in. I think that's it. That's adequate. Okay. All right. So we've got real live programs that have existed since 1947. Their legal cover has always been, and David Grush has talked about this. If you read between the lines, he's also telling us what's going on. It's based on this Harry Truman, 1947, right after the atomic bomb program, the Manhattan Project, and anything with nuclear, anything, any kind of radiation. If radiation's involved, bloop, put it in the Department of Energy under this memo, and no one could ever know about it. So, like, oh yeah, these UFO things that we're collecting are radioactive. Zoop. Or, there's radiation involved. Bloop, put it right in there. It's covered. It's legal. Don't worry about it. You never have to tell a soul. Oh, I remember. It's the money that's being used, and apparently, where is it? Here it is. These programs are tied to the $5 to $9 billion Pentagon budget discrepancy found in the 90s. Remember, we said as of through the 90s, they were putting these under this program, and they cost billions of dollars each. In the 90s, there was between, and you always go high, guys. Whatever you hear dollar amounts in the United States government, always assume the higher one, because it's usually either right or it's too low itself. $5 to $9 billion budget discrepancy. Yeah. Whoops. It's a discrepancy. Oh, that's the taxpayers' money that we have to be accountable to Congress about? No, we don't. That's fine. That's ours. We'll use it because we want to do whatever we want. There's your 9 billion plus. That's just the 90s. That's just the 90s. That's not before that. And that's not since that. Do you remember? And I wish I had this. I'll probably get in trouble if I use the actual video clip of this. But I still remember it very clearly. It was September the 10th, I believe it was. It was right before 9/11. I believe it was September 10th. 2001. Mr. Donald Rumsfeld, who was the new Secretary of Defense under George W. Bush, remember? He became very famous after 9/11 and in the Iraq War and all that stuff. But the reason why he was hired, the reason why Bush brought him in is because Bush knew, and Rumsfeld knew, because he worked at the DOD in previous administration, in Gerald Ford administration, that the Pentagon was full of bloated, wasted money. So his first job was to completely reorganize and get accountability, and his dream was to get accountability financially for the Pentagon and the Defense Department, because he knew about all these billions and billions and billions of dollars. And he made the number that he testified before Congress that year was in the trillions of dollars that we can't account for. I think that's the historical number. So he, as far as I know, he went as far back as he could and tried to say, okay, well, this is unaccounted for. This is unaccounted for. And it's now in the trillions. And on the September 10th, right before 9/11, he was going to go ahead and push through with this massive reorganization of the Pentagon to stop this. Now, I don't know what he knew about special access programs or which ones, or maybe he had something in mind, maybe he didn't. But the waste and the incredible fraud of those billions and billions, and now he says trillions of dollars that just disappeared into nothingness and are completely unaccountable. And that's stolen from me and you. If you're an American, you're paying your taxes to that. That's what it is. They're stealing billions of dollars all the time to do this stuff and never telling one what it is or where it's going. So that's illegal. Okay, so directed energy weapons. Now, this is one of the things actually I believe Donald Rumsfeld started to talk about also in that time period, which was a research that had been gaining steam and that they were very heavily interested in investing in, which is called directed energy weapons, lasers, or other types of energy, which I said at the beginning. And we have developed some weapons, okay, not other things you might hear about, the weather or something like that. No. This is for shooting stuff down or for injuring people. All right, that's a weapon. We've tested it. Have you heard of the of Israel testing it? There's video of Israel shooting things down with a laser system. The United Kingdom has just released something that they are testing, a directed laser, a laser shoot down system. What also, as I said in the beginning, falls under this category is the type of energy weapon you could target at a person, not a laser that destroys their, turns it to ashes or something, or shoots them like a gun, but will penetrate their brain and their nervous system and do all kinds of messed up, torturous kind of stuff. And apparently those kinds of weapons are extremely, extremely difficult to trace, if not impossible. That's probably why they're being used. They've been used against United States intelligence and military folks, including somebody in the president's cabinet a couple of years ago. Not just like 2 years ago. All over the world. Yes, in Cuba or Havana, which is where the name comes from, because that's where the people first started finding out the deal and complaining of these symptoms. In the United States, in Washington, D.C. itself, on the White House property itself, it's been used against us. All over Europe, several destinations in Europe, in Ukraine, once in China, in the Middle East. So, okay, what do those have to do with each other? I think one of the technologies that either we have figured out the secret to using them, or at least we're treating it like a UFO secret, which is that no one could know. And if it ever comes out that it's being used, we're going to deny it. And I just heard that. It's been on, if you watch the 60-minute show in America just a couple of weeks ago, they did a whole, I don't know if it was a whole hour, but a big long segment on, they traced it down, and the Russians are using them against the United States. And so, well, okay, what do you do about that? Can we just admit that that's what's happening? Because that's where all the evidence is, all of it. No, we're not. And there was testimony given. I just saw it yesterday. It might have been yesterday by the attorney for many of these people who have been injured, the intelligence people, the FBI, the CIA, the military guys and gals, because they're not getting any justice. They're not getting any feedback from their own government about it. They're being told they're crazy, that it's made up, psychosomatic, some pre-existing conditions, all these bull poop lies, because they don't want to admit the fact. Why are they so afraid? In fact, the guy yesterday just gave this testimony that says, I can tell you, because he's seen the class, he works for the government himself. Like he's seen the classified documents. He's seen what the investigations on a classified level have revealed about these weapons and the fact that Russia is using them against us. And he says, I can tell you for a fact that the classified information is completely opposite of what you're hearing publicly. It's not just ignoring it. It's not kind of, sort of the same. It's not hedging on it. It's completely opposite. So we have gotten extremely comfortable with the UFO topic and this one of completely lying to the world and to our own citizens. That's me. And maybe you. I see, hey, Brother Merkul. Not him. He's actually on the other side of the planet, but similar type of thing. It's supposed to be a democracy. I'm supposed to be, in charge, basically, right? You're my servants. I elect you. I pay you. I pay everything. My taxes, our taxes, they pay for the whole government. And leaders you don't like, you replace them, and policies you don't like, you change them, and things my congressmen, my senators have to approve the money where I send, where it goes. They have to know where it's going. That's the deal. That's their role. But they don't. Because there's some kind of extra level of, they're scared of something. They think they're above the law. I don't know, maybe both. But they just can't talk about it. They just can't admit that this type of weapon exists on an individual level, at least, that states can use it against each other. And by the way, Israel, like I said, they were testing laser weapons. All of a sudden, they stopped. It was working great. Now they have to go back to regular old rockets like the Iron Dome. They call this the Iron, oh my gosh, Iron Sword or Iron Shield, or what are those for the laser version? But here's the real deal. As far as I can remember, I'm pretty sure this is right. Israel started testing these lasers out in the field. They actually started shooting down Hamas rockets with it. And then the UAPs like they were everywhere. There's tons of UAPs all over Israel and the Middle East now. This is what that's never going to, it hasn't come out really in public. Iron Beam. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, cool. See, I knew it wasn't made up. It's really, it really happened. It really happened. They were, the UAPs started going crazy when these lasers started being used. And so somehow or another, Netanyahu's government was told by somebody to stop it. No more lasers. And they did. Why would they agree to that? And the UAPs went way down. Interesting. Make your own conclusions, but they're connected. Okay. The Wilson memo, the Davis Wilson memo, and the facts of that, and the hidden 4 programs that he uncovered, even though he didn't find out much of anything, but they're real, and they've been there for a long time, and they're still active. But we don't know nothing about them. And there's some portion of it in this UFO problem they don't like, or they don't want us to use lasers apparently and directed energy weapons, but our friends the Russians are doing it anyways. They don't. Putin is crazy. Okay, he's a warmonger and a tyrant and evil 100%. So he doesn't really care about agreements maybe or reasons not to use certain weapons. So he's going to use the directed energy weapons and calls what we call Havana syndrome on whoever he wants. And maybe he's going to put nukes into space, even though it would totally not only violate break a treaty that he is in, that his country was in since the 60s, 1969, which almost every country in the world has signed on to, which is no nuclear weapons in space. And even that, you would think, well, who cares? Like, why is that such a big deal? Okay. But he looks like he wants to break that too. So somebody's not playing along, and apparently, I guess, is endangering everybody by doing it. That's where I'm reaching understanding of. And so these programs and these weapons can't talk about them. You got to, if it ever comes out, just deny it flat out. Just deny it flat out. 100%, 180 opposite. Nope, doesn't exist. Doesn't happen. Not real. Liar. People are making this up. Or like Arrow and Sean Kirkpatrick is saying now, oh, it's just a bunch of people who are deceived and it's like a UFO religion is what this ATIP and this ALSAP was. That's how stupid they think we are. And maybe if many of us are. We just believe it. We desperately want to believe that our military and our government tells us the truth when we know they don't. But we have to, especially my side of the aisle, okay, the conservatives of America especially, always, seemingly, but to a fault, trust the military to tell the truth. They have run out of credit. Okay? They're not credible. If there's something to hide, they will do it. And they've done a real excellent job of deceiving us as citizens to say, if we say it should be secret, don't question it. I'm getting a bunch of text. Gotta block all those guys. Anyways, okay, that's how it's connected. I hope that was not totally confusing. I'm just starting to process and put this together, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to just be a fad for a couple of months, and then we're going to move on to just forget all about it. It's world changing stuff, and you better get wise to it. I mean, you better get educated like now. That's my advice. If you never heard of the Davis-Wilson Memo, go read it. If you don't know anything about directed energy weapons, go find out. If you don't know about these secret programs, go find out. It could go really, really bad, really sideways, and just gonna not be a good situation. Okay. I don't see any questions or comments on this one. I must have either confused everyone or everyone's slack jawed, or maybe they're all making notes. Again, please go to patreon.com/Wings of the Eagle to join the aviary and to see one of the other things that we're working on for membership. It's not quite ready right this second, but it's there now. What we're thinking of doing to help. If you want to just give to the podcast, just go to wingsoftheeagle.com/support unsealed. Okay? Support unsealed. Or just unsealedpodcast.com and you'll see a button. Anyways, that's what you can do. That's what you should do. Get yourself educated. Let's talk about this stuff. especially as Christians. If you are one, I hope you are, then you're my brother or sister. It's really important that we don't shy away from this more weird end of it. And this is it really is just the tip of the iceberg. Because these things are easier to talk about. We can talk about government, military, admirals, doctors, lasers, even. These are weapons. These are things we have context for. We can understand it, money, Congress, right? We understand all that. All right, I'll leave you with this. If you didn't realize, one of the other connections is that, and Dr. Davis knows this, Hal Puthoff knows this, people who've worked at Kit Green know this, is that many, we don't know how many, but a lot of folks who have had UFO experiences, in other words, they've had what you would call more of a close encounter, many of them have the same symptoms in their physical body, eventually, some right away, some after time, of this, like a Havana syndrome. Same effects, same scarring of brain tissue, neurological disorders, blindness, you can't walk, motor functions, some even worse than that. Someone trying to call me. Okay. Big emergency. Anyway, okay, so that's the other aspect, that yes, a close-up run-in with UFOs or UAPs produced the same injuries to many people, not everyone, but to many, that this Havana syndrome directed energy weapon attack would give you. So Mokul is asking the correct question. Being that we know all of that, are these weapons developed from technology that has been recovered? I don't know. It might. It doesn't, to me, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a PhD in anything. It seems like the technology for those types of weapons is within our reach. Like, it doesn't seem like we need help to develop them at this point. You know what I mean? So it might just be that their usage and the fact that we're developing them now and are using them poses some kind of threat or communicates something hostile to this, whoever is behind the UFO phenomenon. There's definitely something to that. Either it's their stuff and we figured it out, or it's some type of threat to them. That's my best answer right now. And again, if I sound totally nuts and crazy, go find, there's a very famous video from, I believe it's the International Space Station. I didn't get my facts straight before I went on here. I'm sorry. If I want to talk about this part, which I didn't know. There's a famous clip, I believe it's the International Space Station, or could be one of the shuttle missions. I'm pretty sure it's the ISS, from several years ago, where you see what you would call UAP or UFOs zipping around, coming, like in the atmosphere of the Earth into that, space area. And then which is cool enough, but then from the Earth up into the area where the UFO is, there's like a laser, some kind of weapon. It looks like just some kind of shot, like a missile, but it would be the fastest missile ever. I mean, by a lot. It just kind of shoom, like right from the surface of the Earth into the space, just like that. Shoom. And this UFO guy, as soon as he sees, there's a flash on the ground, and then this thing shoots up towards it. I mean, I guess who's shooting at it? That's what it looks like. And this little guy, when he sees the flash, just zoop, moves out of the way, and the thing just misses. So, I'll leave you with that. Okay. All right. Some of y'all, UFO folks, you know exactly what I'm saying, and this is mostly old news because this is your life pretty much. But the folks who are just trying to get educated on this and who are in other walks of life, right? This is new info. So you got to trust me at least somewhat. I don't, check everything I say. As a Bible teacher, I say that all the time. Don't believe me. Just check the source, right? Please do. Okay. But I do ask for your trust in that I will not come on the air in a public way like this and say things that I don't believe are very likely, if not facts. If it's speculation, if I say, well, this is my maybe view or my opinion right now or something like that, I'll say that. But I'm not going to share information or things that I'm not comfortable saying are true or very likely true. We just can't, prove it to our satisfaction right now. But circumstantial evidence and things like that. So, okay. So if you can trust me in that to that degree, that's my commitment, is to not ever do that. What I'm telling you is, in my view, in my mind, very solid and needs to be said. All right. All right, my friends. We're good for now. Thank you for joining us. Please do share this with someone you know, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube, X, Instagram. And like I say, please do support us at unsealedpodcast.com. Hit the support button or go to patreon.com/Wings of the Eagle to see what you can get for your dollars. All right. If that's interesting to you to do it that way, then let's do it. Till next time, this is Christopher Manti. I'll see you on the X platform at Manti4. And Lord willing, we'll be back on Monday. Tomorrow for a Q&A. Don't skip over tomorrow. We got Q&A Ask the Pastor time tomorrow afternoon around 4 p.m. Eastern time. That is the plan anyway. All right, friends? All right, until next time, this is Unsealed, the official podcast of Wings of the Eagle. Good day to you.